Hello and welcome. My name is Steve Pugh. This is something I do every kind of Monday-ish, if I can kind of get time. And basically, it's called a growth strategy podcast. And what I try and do is introduce you to people that are hopefully quite interesting, that might be able to help your kind of business or career. And then likewise, pick real people that have real businesses. That it's always great to hear from Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, but you can kind of find that stuff on YouTube. What I like to do is introduce you to real people who are probably similar to you, maybe from the same kind of area, and then also explore some of their backstory and what they were like at school, and kind of just talk about real interesting topics that you might kind of find interesting. So Fran, who I'm going to introduce you to today, really interesting lady, really good kind of backstory. But if you've got any questions for her or me, drop them in the chat. I'll pop up my screen as well, and we'll kind of bring them in. So Fran, I'm just going to bring you in. There we go.
Hi.
Hello. There we go. So everyone can now kind of see you and hear you, which is quite cool. Would you be happy to almost give a quick introduction just about who you are and where you're from?
Yeah, so I'm Francesca Brownless, Francesca Deborah Brownless, for those who really care. I'm from Darlington. I own a construction cleaning business, which supplies the North East and North Yorkshire. We're into our fourth year now. It's a second company that I've had doing the same thing. So I've been in business for 7 years now.
Wow.
Learned a lot along the way. For personal development and career progression as well. So if anyone has any questions, it's a minefield. I'm 31, nearly 32, and I'm bringing my birthday forward in case anyone was interested.
Wait, what's the birthday thing? I'm interested.
Well, I missed my 30th. Also, it's in November, and it's a really rubbish time of year to have a birthday. So I think I might move it to July, change it on Facebook. No one will know the difference.
No, cool. And just have interest, so you're what, 30, 31 now, and you've been going for 7 years. So you actually started pretty early, which is quite cool.
Yeah, pretty much straight out of uni. I kind of always knew I wanted a business. I graduated when I was 22. Titivated with a few small ideas by 23, and by 25 I'd quit my job and I was right into the throw of what am I going to do, how am I going to make it happen, and that's that basically. I just went for it.
But that's a teaser, and we'll kind of get into that. But I always like to kind of set the scene, because there'll be some people that might see this pop up that maybe don't know who you are. And I think just that little bit at the start hopefully gives people some flavour that, okay, it might be worth watching, or might not be. And then just to a question that you kind of had before, is that all of these get clipped up onto YouTube as well. So we kind of, even if someone discovers this in 7 years' time, it's always interesting just to kind of find, different people. And we're going to talk about your backstory and what you're like in school and stuff, because there's often kind of traits and stuff that people have that want to start their own thing that kind of, we probably resonate with that. And I'm always interested to like unpick it. That often a little bit mischievous, kind of, you don't want to stick to the rules, and that's what I find really interesting, because there might be people that I've got relatives that they know that school isn't for them, that they still want to do stuff, but it's just they're not academic, and it's just, but that when you kind of, that's not often celebrated, especially when you're younger. It's all about school, GCSEs, A levels, uni, and even though I did that, and by the sounds of it you did as well, that's not right for everyone. And it's almost just raising awareness on stuff as well. So whereabouts in the world are you based?
Darlington in County Durham, England, UK.
Is it trying to make it sound posh by saying County Durham?
Yeah, maybe.
No, so my wife's from Darlow, so I've been going there.
Was she? Whereabouts?
I won't say the specific street name, but she went to Longfield Road. But what's quite interesting is just that, so we met at uni. And it's that balance again of where you go. So she's a partner in a law firm now, but you just go on different tracks. But it's one of the things that I find quite interesting is that people from, it's a stereotype, but people from certain backgrounds, that the values like instill in you that kind of, I don't think, even if you had 50 million quid in the bank, you'd probably keep the same kind of work ethic and stuff. And I think that's 100%. Sometimes it's a really good kind of grounding. So did you grow up in Darlow?
Yeah, born and raised, Darlow. I moved out to Liverpool for 5 years. I lived in Spain for a little while, but I came back to my roots.
That was, you went to uni in Liverpool?
Yeah, I went and did my law degree in Liverpool. I was there for 5 years. I was there in Liverpool. Tried to work there, but I couldn't make it happen. So I came back home.
That's my hometown. So I grew up.
Is it?
Yeah. I grew up in a town called Mughal, which is just north. It's just technically the Northern Line goes up to Ormskirk, on the Merseyrail. Yeah. So I was in the boundary, but it was so basically it was funny that almost like so I grew up there, and it was great as an experience. But I was quite happy to escape and get away, And it's that kind of thing of, but I think a lot of northern cities kind of have similar backgrounds and stuff that people kind of resonate with and stuff. And then what were you like at school?
School, do you know what? I started off really popular, I had loads of friends. I was very, very clever, very good at maths actually. And if I'd have carried on with that, I probably would have been a world-class mathematician in something or other, probably finance and economics with the brain I've got. But actually, really quite quickly into school, I got really badly bullied, which really affected the whole of my school career. There was no point me showing up. When I did show up, I was chased out of class. It was a case of be bullied or get bullied, and it was really quite a lonely time. I didn't really have anywhere to turn. Teachers would very much, the teachers were getting bullied. It was that bad. Some teachers were resigning. It was really, really bad energy in the school I was in. However, on a positive note, when I got to GCSEs, I mean, at that point, I didn't know what the word revision meant, and that's not even a joke.
No, you know, the true story is, so I was the same, and we'll talk about bullying in a second, but it wasn't until I actually went to uni did I know what revision actually was or meant. And it was almost where, so what I'd gone through my life where I'd kind of just go through the year and then try and learn it for the exam. This sounds really stupid. I didn't figure out to learn it through the year, then learn it again for the exam. And I don't know about you, but it's almost where for me, it's one of the chips on my shoulder where the school I went to wasn't bad, but it wasn't great anyway. But I think if you go to a posher school, and I have relatives that went to like private school, you're taught how to learn how to pass exams in a way that I never was. And what was really interesting was when I went to uni, so I went to do mechanical engineering. In the same class as me, there was a girl called Gwyn, and she went to Cheltenham Ladies College, which is like the female version of Eton. Right, and it was just funny that the kind of, like, she was lovely. And ironically, I think the people that go to posh schools rebel more when they have freedom than people with working class backgrounds. Anyway, but it was just, that one part of the big disadvantage I felt when I had to go to uni was, one, I had less money than everyone else. But actually, it took me a long time to just figure out how to play the game that other people have been taught before they even arrived. Does that make sense? So trust me, I
completely agree. I feel like I'm just getting there now. Like, oh, hang on, this is what you're supposed to do. And I'm kind of doing it already. You don't really appreciate, if you're not really shown, how are you supposed to suss it out? But you do suss it out. That's the important bit. However you get there.
No, it's cool. And just on the bullying front, it was really funny actually that with, just like a personal story for me, is that with, basically I was bullied at school because I didn't have cool trainers or school shoes. So back in the day, there were kickers. I don't have kids, so I don't know.
I do.
Yeah. But anyway, we couldn't afford them. So basically, in our local like shoe shop, they had like the fake version.
Yeah.
And kids were fucking horrible, and they'd take the piss just because you don't have the brand name that are 4 times the price. And the truth is, my mum just couldn't afford them. Yeah. And then even when, because we had to wear a uniform in school. So in theory, I think uniform is good because it actually means that it puts everyone on the same level. But the shoes, you could either rough kids or the rich kids had Rockport. A lot of everyone else had kickers because they didn't want to fit in, and I couldn't afford them. But I experienced bullying from that just because, you know, it is what it is. And it was a horrible experience, but it is true that when you kind of, if you can like fight through it and get through it and just kind of, you know, one of the ways that I almost tried to do it was, one, I got good at sport, and people tend not to bully people on the sports team, but almost it was like the social side to like the banter, and, you know, almost it's like a survival thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it can be a horrible experience to go to, but I don't know if you want to share anything about how you found school or...
Do you know what? I think for me, it was a case of when we left school, I just got enough to get to college. I got told I was probably going to be, you know, on benefits and have kids and amount to nothing. And even if that did happen, it would not mean I'd amount to nothing. Yeah. But I really started thriving at college and found my feet, my independence, and actually a whole new brand, you know, culture of people. And it just kind of let me reinvent myself as a young teenager at that time. I was very bright. I could apply myself. I was getting 100% in my classes. I was doing extremely well. So for the teachers who, you know, didn't recognize that, actually you're forced into this little culture of learning that is not right for you, and you have to excel just to get to that little next step in your life. Had I known back then I could achieve what I've achieved now without all of that, you know, 7 years of education that means relatively nothing, I probably wouldn't have worried or bothered with it all. You just go straight to, but actually you kind of need to go through those lessons and those hardships to go, okay, I'm going to suss it out, and you figure it out. But yeah, what you know now to what you'd be a totally different person, but you wouldn't know it if you didn't go through it. So
I know it like with my my cousin's son, I don't know, his nephew, I don't know, regardless, but he goes to uni next year, and it's all of the, there's so much stuff that I didn't learn, but it's, you know, that's kind of life, isn't it? It's kind of what you learn over time. And ironically, and you know, I was saying this to someone, like, I've been to uni a few times, you know, I'm got the qualifications, but almost when you get to a certain point, I know it doesn't mean anything. And it's that balance. You're sold the dream that it's absolutely everything. The most important thing is to get A's and do. And you kind of, so I'm 38 now, but it's almost where I judge people on how good they are at doing something, how passionate they are.
How can they apply themselves?
I couldn't really give a shit about what the certificate is. For certain jobs, so like I help run an engineering company. If we're recruiting engineers, you kind of need a degree for that. So but generally, it's more about just, you know, find something you're passionate about and do it.
I mean, when was the last time you asked what your GCSEs were?
Yeah, true.
And if they do ask, I go, crikey, I wouldn't even know how to get the certificates. I can't really remember.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So
what
you
got.
Went to uni and did law.
Yeah, I started on criminology.
Okay, nice.
Well, the dream kind of was just to sort of do what my nana kind of said would never fail me, and it actually didn't really. I just didn't want to be a lawyer. But I mean, it actually went because a boyfriend's parent at the time was a policeman, and I just kind of thought, oh, well, I'll go and study criminology and be a copper. My first year into criminology, the first lesson, my stoned out lecturer told me, this won't allow you to be a copper. So I kind of finished the year, gave myself 10% of year one, and only by doing that, it got me onto a law degree. So as I say, every stepping stone is right for your path. I couldn't have got on the law degree from college, even though I did really well. There were some classes that I couldn't stand. So I excelled in what I excelled in. And after that, it was a free-for-all. But yeah, so I mean, the law thing was, you know, my aunties in law doing very, very well. And I just took those tiny little seeds that people gave me as the guidance and just kind of went with it, but I still didn't really know why.
Can I ask you about that? Actually, it's quite interesting because what's quite funny. So I did mechanical engineering, and I'm really glad I did it. And it is quite a tough course. But the only reason I did it was because I like cars. And that's the stupidest reason to do something. But it was almost where I kind of like making stuff. I'm good at figuring things out. Yeah, I'll do that. And it was almost that I don't know about you, but I didn't feel like I had any genuine career or life guidance because my mum didn't go to uni. And what was quite funny is that even after I'd finished, I think I might have even finished my undergrad, she still thought that as an engineer, I'd like go out and fix tills and stuff. And I was like, no, it's more like designing jet engines. But it was just, my point is, I don't know about, you know, I didn't ever feel any proper guidance about, you know what, this means that, this means that. You don't have to do this, you can do that. And it's almost where, like, what was your experience?
Yeah, completely the same, to be honest. My nanny gave me snippets of, you know, I mean, she told me I was a great singer when I was 7, but I could not be a singer now. But I was just taking snippets of whatever I possibly could from wherever. And it actually, to that degree, it got to the point where I've now learned to make a judgment on those snippets of advice. So everyone wants to talk at you as well. And this is what you learn as you grow up. And a lot of the time you'll follow it when you don't feel guided, and you'll make loads of mistakes through it. So now I've got so good at listening to advice, but also going, is that the right person experience that they've got that I want to be listening to? Thanks for the advice, might take it on. But equally, you making my own decision. Does it fit my life right now? Or is it for 10 years? Or is it for never? So there's an element of take everything you can because you feel unguided, but equally learn which is relevant before you make loads of mistakes from everyone's advice. You can listen too much as well.
I think one of the things that really gets me is that with, so we're now like forging our own business paths and stuff. It's how many people push advice, even though it's bad advice, and then not someone should listen to. But ironically, especially when you're younger, you feel that grown-ups or anyone older has authority over you, that you should listen. And the older you get, it's like, no, make your own judgment on it. So yes, if it helps, or it's a parent or someone who blatantly has the best interest, but then likewise, you kind of need your own vision and values to know what it is that really gets you excited and not live someone else's dream.
But you can't pick that up until you get through the let's say the first 5 to 8 years of education, your private life, trying to forge some sort of career, making loads of mistakes. And it's only really until that point that you can understand those decisions that you make, listen to those people. But I think it equally, the advice that you get given, sometimes there's a lot of limiting beliefs around it. So I got told no a lot. Don't set up the cleaning business. Just stick to the law career that you're on, the income that you're making and all the rest of it, because it's took you so long to get any kind of income. But actually, that's the other person's self-limiting belief. And, you know, for a few short years, I was absolutely on the bones of my ass skin, but I made a decision to stay skin for that future gain. And you've always got to look at what are the self-limiting beliefs of the person given that advice, and will that limit you in the path that you want to go on? The chances are, if you're taking advice like that, but you feel really courageous, you're probably going to be able to over-exceed that 20, 30-fold from what that initial goal was. Some of the goals I had 7 years ago, I smashed them within a year. I wrote them down. I was like, oh man, that was over exceed. I think I wrote 50 grand on a check once. I smashed that within a month. We signed a contract for 49,950. We'll probably get that later in the chat. But I smashed that in a month. And I was like, that was such a crazy goal a month ago. So I was like, right, I need to get crazy with this. Let's put some real good meaty stuff down. And we've been smashing it ever since, to the point where I scare myself now. Like, what am I going to write down? Because I'm going to achieve it. And I have. It's crazy.
No, but it is true. But I think it's that self-belief. I had the same. So I used to work overseas in Jamaica. And for a lot of people from uni, it was like a big dream job. Because I had relatives that used to work overseas. And it was sold to me as like the be-all and end-all. Absolutely hated it. And when I was saying, I remember telling my mum that I was going to quit and go back to uni and do a PhD. She was like, she didn't swear, but she's like, what the fuck are you doing? And I have friends say that, and I had belief that I just wasn't happy. And so I get it. I completely agree.
So you've got instinct at the end of the day, and only you know what I always say, your little tummy talks. Listen to the tummy. Your tummy and your heart, they're always conflicting. Your head says something that everyone else is saying, but that tummy, that gut instinct, you've got to go with it. And if you're miserable, you need to move on quickly. So yeah.
So what did you do straight after uni? So between uni and starting the business?
Do you know what? That was a really crazy time, because I think for anyone who follows the uni path, gets in all the debt and all the rest of it, and some of the debt I picked up from uni is a lot less than what's being picked up now.
I had 26 grand when I left uni.
I think mine's about the same. Yeah, it sounds like we had a similar period, because it went crazy after we left, didn't it? And I worked really hard. I had jobs and things, but after I left, job at uni,
just out of interest?
Yeah, I did. Well, I volunteered 4 days a week at the Citizens Advice Bureau to kind of follow this fake law thing that I was sort of moving with, and I loved it. I learned so much from it. But I worked predominantly in bars, Weatherspoons, to name a few, and really just picked up any kind of waitressing, anything like that. And I really enjoyed it. And actually, that kind of takes me on to the next bit, because I suppose my self-limiting beliefs carried on. When I finished uni, it was that crap shit, I'm going to have to figure this out now. And I stayed in Liverpool, I took an apartment, and I accepted a pub management program, and I was so excited for it. Went to Spain for a month just to pretend to learn law and have a bit of fun, really, and started that. But actually what I noticed was, even by doing that pub management thing, I couldn't even afford to pay my bills. It was unachievable. I was still under the minimum wage threshold. I wasn't above 22, 23, whatever it was. I was still on £6 something an hour. I got really sick. I couldn't put the heating on. It was quite a disastrous time. And I've just literally handed my notice in the second I could have my lease in, and I went from my apartment and I went straight home. But that's where the fun stuff starts. I was like, right, fine, you're going to have to make this happen. You've got one chance here. I applied for an internship in Spain where I had to demonstrate that I could speak Spanish. Whilst I went through all the suffering in the apartment that I couldn't physically live in. I mean, this is crazy. I used to literally sleep from shift to shift because I was so cold. I couldn't get out of bed. I got liver problems and all sorts because I just couldn't look after myself. It was so cold. It was awful. Now I've got this thing about being cold. I've never got the heating on. I've actually got a blanket on me as we speak. So because of all that, I'd already taught myself Spanish. That was how I got through it. So in the times I was in bed, I was on YouTube, I was singing Spanish, I was watching Spanish, I was writing Spanish, I had a pen pal, and that got me through. So just weirdly enough, I'd kind of done that. I flew through the Spanish test. I went to work in Spain for the summer at this law firm. It was absolutely mint. Obviously came home and I did secure a job. I was called the International Collaborative Ventures Coordinator, which really fresh out of uni, it paid a great wage. The issue was I was bouncing between contracts, and in the end I came into quite a sour situation where I couldn't secure exactly what I wanted, but actually with all of the boredom of working with international people, there was a lot of political unrest in the companies I was working with, Jakarta, Sri Lanka, and with all the politics going on, there'd be 3 weeks at a time where I hadn't spoke to a single person. Wow. So all I did was write business plan after business plan after business plan. I set up a market stall, and I actually bought and sold products and did really well at that. And I hated being in the cold, so I just stopped doing it. But I was trying to suss out, what do I want to do? And really, from pretty much leaving uni, I was already trying to figure out, I want to be in business, and what business is it? And after that, I went through quite a severe period of depression. I had to take some time off work because of it, to be honest. I was engaged to be married. I was, about to be getting set up. The expectation was I should keep this job with the really good wage and all the rest of it and carry on. But it just was actually so depressing. I just couldn't do it. And in the end, I just read all these books and I said, what has made me happy in my whole entire life? And one job, I got rid of the finances of it. And I thought, ignore money. What makes you happy? And I looked through all my careers. I was like, do you know what? I actually just really love cleaning. And I learned that in working for Morrison's when I was, I think, 17, 18. So I sold Yorkshire puddings and toast by 10% in that job, in case anyone cares. So I'm naturally a very good salesperson. I'm very honest with people and very authentic, but I loved cleaning. I actually was at the point of saying, I'm just going to be a cleaner. I'm happy to earn X amount a year, and I just want to be left alone. I just want to do something I enjoy. You put that joy of doing something into the commercial brain that I developed over the years, and the need to want and desire for a business. Obviously, it went massively successful really quickly. And here I am today with a massive headache of a story in between. But that's my period from uni to business, really. There's no time in the middle, sort of half faking this career that I didn't really want, going through depression and just going, sod it. 25th birthday, I can't remember what the year was, literally the birthday of my 25th birthday, I got called into a meeting with my boss at the time, and they were saying how well I was doing and all the rest of it, but I just could not get over this comment in this appraisal of you're doing really well and the customers love you, but you're spending too much time on the phone. And I literally thought, oh my God, F off. I don't know how much I can swear on this. And I just walked out and I never went back. And that's the last job I ever had. Weirdly, there was a check on the desk. No one gets paid in checks anymore. And it's just such an ironic story for this dramatic scene I'm painting. My last check, it was just before Christmas, and that was all I had to go off. And I thought, right, I'm gone. Doesn't matter what I do. I'd rather be homeless than deal with this. It was just nuts.
Because I left Jamaica at 24. And I think it was that similar, obviously, age bracket, but it was almost where I knew that the path I was on wasn't right. And I think it's that balance of where, I think a lot of people, when you finish uni, it's almost where you have a dream. Then if it doesn't kind of pan out, you kind of, decide what to do next. But almost the resilience to stick out what you're doing in almost the tough times, and not being able to put the heating on is tough. That is savage.
Yeah. But I think you're a bit more resilient at that age as well. And I just had it in my head, this is the only time I've got to make this happen. And I had gone through periods of homelessness in school, actually, which I didn't bring up before. And that was a good 2 or 3 years of hell. And I think that was completely enshrined to me. I've dealt with that. If this makes me homeless, sod it. Yeah. It doesn't really matter. Just try.
I think the work ethics. I've worked in supermarkets. I used to work in Quick Save and Summerfields. Quick Save was on the shop floor, just stacking boxes. I actually loved that. It was fun. And then on Summerfields, it was on the meat and cheese counter. I know they have it at Morrison's as well. And I used to hate wearing the hairnet hat thing. But I'm actually very good even now. Guessing the weights of cheeses. You know, because basically what you have to do is look at it, and it's my one party trick that I'll never use.
Well, do you know what? I've just learned that every business has an upsell, and that's because I was the upseller. My job as 18, like, what are you trying to upsell me? Because I know for a fact there's an upsell somewhere.
So tell us about the business. What do you do now?
Yeah, so construction cleaning is our specialist. I've done it for so long. I'm at the point now where it's like steady as we go. We've just come into a really solid point of process and procedures. I think when you ask anyone about the business, there's two sides of it, isn't there? Because I'm not actually the cleaner anymore, and I haven't been for quite a while now. I'm now a business owner.
So it, though. That's the one thing that so many business owners is when you know the craft better than anyone, you can manage a team, and they know that you know how to do it and how to do it well, and people respect that. I think
but making that transition from cleaner to business owner has been probably the hardest, trying to get clients to understand that it won't be me coming anymore. I'm going to train these people to do it. And I've hired some people that would do it a million times better than me because of their patience. I'm paying them to do it every day. They've got nothing else to think about in the business. So they've ended up, I've gone on the tools before Christmas because we were really, really busy, and I thought, I'm getting my hands dirty, let's get mucked in. And I loved it, and I still love it. Every part of cleaning we do, I love it. I don't take anything on that I don't enjoy, because if I'm not the expert, I can't sell it, I can't market it, I can't teach someone else to do it. And under those circumstances, I don't feel confident. There's a few services we picked up over the years and didn't enjoy it, couldn't sell it, couldn't train someone to do it. And I just thought, well, that's a 20 grand mistake. Let's just park that one.
So when you say construction cleaning, is that cleaning new build homes and building? I don't know what it is the honest answer.
Basically, yeah. So for anyone listening that does care, when you build anything, with whether it's a big building, we did a hospital this year in Northallerton, I think it had 200 to 300 buildings, something crazy. It was massive. When you build anything, there's loads of processes, and you're either helping the construction team get their NHBC stamp or their warranty or whatever process they're going through, and then loads of snagging processes, and then you're cleaning it ready for either the customer to view it or the customer to move in. So the concept is, if you buy a brand new car or the Queen's coming to visit, you wouldn't expect a crumb. And the motto is, if there's dust on anything, it's dirty. So that there can't be anything. But construction clean, the best way to describe it is it's definitely a form of restoration, and you could almost certainly damage anything in the process if you get it wrong. Being on the ground, having done it for as long as I had done it, that the way I learned was, we got begged to go into the industry. Actually, I didn't know how to do it. I was a carpet cleaner at the time. That was my first trade when I went self-employed, and I got this. We'll get into this later down the line, I imagine, but I got this contract, and I said to them, I don't know how to do this, and said, but I know that you'll learn. And I did. When I first went on site, not a clue what I was doing, and all I said to a site manager was, please, will you just have a look at it and tell me if it's all right? And 10 times out of 10 in the first year, it was always wrong. And I just said, right, just don't lie to me. And they gave me feedback. I'm like, well, this here, I didn't know what tools to use, what processes, the amount of glass that I scratched and never got a charge. And I don't know how I didn't get charged for that. It's unbelievable. But that's the concept of it. But it's either really, really dirty and damaged, or it's super, super clean. It's like a stock type of thing, or a show home, and you've got to get it immaculate. So yeah, but that's a nutshell of construction.
About that is that do you know who Sarah Blakely is? She's the lady that formed Spanx.
Yeah.
And I talk about her all the time because I love her journey, but it's almost so she understood the problem in women's shapewear, but she didn't have a clue about making it.
Yeah.
And it's almost being brave enough to ask the stupid questions about, what does that mean? Why do you do that? And not being afraid to do it. Actually, what gets you really, really good? And then the other side to it as well, which I can already kind of tell. I'm always shocked at how bad a lot of people and a lot of companies' customer service is. Because to me, if someone hires me or my brand, I want it to be so good that I'll do anything to make sure I respond quickly and do anything. As well, a lot of people don't care, and it always blows my mind. But actually, so if I was a construction site owner, and as soon as you because I started my career in construction, that's what I was doing before I went to Jamaica. But it was the balance of where, if you know someone that you like and trust, and they do a good job, and the price is reasonable, you're going to stick with them.
Yeah,
and it's really good.
There's a counter argument to it, because in recent years, and I don't know how I knew this at the beginning, but the commercial aspect of construction, I think that all of our clients are really kind of over like, oh, she's new, you know, she's the cleaner, and kind of like it didn't treat me as badly as they possibly could. And now they're like, hang on, you're well into this. You need to be aware of X, Y, and Z. And I've been forced to learn the commercial management of a construction business, which has forced me to not be the cleaner anymore. I haven't got time to go and clean. I really care about the polished windows. However, the contractual health and safety, the QS management, the financial management, actually running the management of a construction business or any business. I already spotted the need for a decent service, but actually it now boils down to the decent service kind of doesn't matter anymore, because the front end client is really, really important, but actually they're heavily managed by the back end of all of the clients we work with. And it's really important that as a business, as we grow, we do identify the commercial needs of the people we're working with. They've got budgets, you need to respect them, all of the administrative processes that they need. That's what we've been going, how do our administration processes and systems streamline with theirs? And how do we become the easiest business to work with and get the product and service that they need? So it's kind of like 3 years as, oh, I'm a dizzy little cleaner, I just want to clean, to like, hang on, get your brain together, because you need to get this done. But it's almost like you spot the need for the service. We begged to do it. Now we're spotting needs for other parts of the cleaning industry that we want to fix. We've got a recruitment division being open right now. We've soft launched it. We're pretty much ready for a hard launch. And again, it's down to receiving bad service. And other various things that we're doing. There's no construction cleaning training school, and that's something I would love to get developed in the next few years, have it accredited. The CSCS industry, everything about health and safety and cleaning. There's not one cleaner out there that walks out of school and goes, hi, I want to be a construction cleaner. It doesn't exist. So now we're going, construction is booming and nobody is being trained to do the job, and the clients kind of just expect you to facilitate that. So we're being forced by default of growth to create these models and these structures surrounding our needs. But then I'm going, ding, 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 I'm a business owner. We need to cash in on this because this has cost me a frigging fortune. So yeah, it's just interesting as you're developing your business career, what you then transition into. Someone called me just before this to talk about, it was one of the site ladies, and I've got an operations assistant, they shouldn't really call me. And she was talking about something to do with the sites and one of the cleans and all the rest of it. And this really directly relates to this, because I literally thought, I really, 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 really care. However, I need to pass you through to my team. I've got my own job to do now, and it should be getting looked after by my team, and they know what they're doing. So it just boils down to that, doesn't it? With growth comes the service is no longer the most important bit. It's crazy. It's mind-blowing.
What's interesting, and I'm just going to jump onto the comments. So Andrew Corey saying you're a very inspirational lady. I have different screens. I have to read off them.
Do you know what? I'm going to introduce Andrew Corey, if you don't mind, because Andrew Corey, I've spoke to him from the very early days when I was still in Liverpool. I was living in the flat that I couldn't afford. I was freezing cold, and he has honestly seen me transition from a worker in the pub trying to be a manager right the way through till now. He watches all of it. He's always commenting, messaging, loads of support, and he's had a lot going on himself. He's been a viewer from the very early days. There's not many people who can say that they've seen it from start to finish. So thanks for watching, Andrew.
Well, but it's true. And actually, so Jonathan, someone else commented that it's funny how scarily similar a lot of people's journeys and backgrounds can be, even though we'd never met before today. But it's just, it's funny that it's that same mentality and work ethic and trying to spot things. And from a business strategy point of view, you're able to follow the customer where you're smart enough to be able to spot the opportunity and actually develop different revenue streams and train people up and just grow the business in different ways. That probably kind of keeps it fresh. So one of the questions it's always interesting is that certain people, and arguably for the roadmap stuff I'm doing, it's still within its first 2 years. But for you, how did you find the first, say, 2 years setting up, and how is that different to where you are now?
Well, I've done this journey twice. So briefly, the first journey was awful. I had a business that went straight into construction. So I carpet cleaned. That was my entry into cleaning. I became one of the best in the area, but it was such a quick process of moving into having a company. I had to learn everything. I had to learn how to recruit staff, how to HR them, how to absolutely everything to do with the business. And we grew at such a rapid pace. Our first year revenues were 65,000 in that business, but the second year were 365,000. Wow. And then I sold it. So we grew at such a massive rate, and our profit margins were great because we had no admin support. So I used to get up, and this is crazy, 2:00 in the morning to do all the admin. I had a business partner and she predominantly looked after the day-to-day. But I used to get up at 2:00 in the morning, do all of the admin, sort out my niece because I did my phone's going off, did the babysitting because my sister was on night shift, and then I'd shower, I'd get the baby sorted, I'd take her to nursery for 7:25, so I could pick the staff up at 7:30 so we could get to site for 4:00. 4:00, 8:00 in the morning, clean all day, come back in, pick the baby up. And it was just so intense. What I will say is in that business journey, because we ran at such a rapid pace, and it was still predominantly learning how to do the job, how to bring staff in. We hadn't structured the business. There was loads that we didn't get process and procedures for. Now we've got HR support, legal advice, an FD working for the business, bookkeepers. I've got a business development assistant, an operations assistant. We've got team leaders, training leaders, cleaners. Yeah. We've got so many layers of structure that takes away and gives me so much support. Jumping into the third year of this second business, but I've learned all of those lessons. This is on to like year 7 of business, but I've took those first 2 years in that business, gone, right, I'm going to do it myself. When that was sold, 6 days after, I had a brand new contract in front of me. All I wanted to do was go traveling. I'd made some cash. I was fucking knackered. I don't know if I can swear. Absolutely knackered. And I just wanted to go and have some fun, but I had this contract and I couldn't ignore it. Yeah. So off I went to Van Monster, got myself a van, off to Screwfix to get some ladders and hop-ups, off to Home Bargains to get some cleaning stuff, and straight down to Newton Aycliffe to do 6 flaming bill cleans. We were fully booked within day 1. I had 3 staff on the books already. We were already turning over 6 figures within day 1 of setting up.
I'm still shocked that the people who bought the business didn't put restrictive covenants in to stop you doing that.
It would have been very expensive, but they didn't. So, and good for them. And they're still trading very much local, and I'm very much in competition with them now. So it's given me a healthy drive to go, okay, well, that business is amazing because I created it, but actually there's no systems, there's no procedures, and there's no structure. So I'm going to be better. Watch this space. We smashed those first 2 revenues in the first 2 years, and we've doubled that again. We're continuing to rise, and we're just going absolutely crazy. But I've now learned how to do it by myself, which I didn't learn to do in the first 2 years. Yeah. So your journey's never over, and I think it's only now looking back that I thought, I can do it all by myself. Oh no, and I've took some key people to come and help me. There's a few key people in the business right now that have worked on the ground and helped look after the day-to-day for such a long period of time. We definitely would not be there without that. Would not be there without them at all. So yeah, it's been very staged. 40 steps forward and 60 backwards all the way. Crazy.
It's genuinely, it's a really impressive story. It just is.
Thanks.
And it's just, I can feel the setbacks, and I can tell it hasn't been an easy journey. No. Do you know what I mean? And it's that process that I get it. And I think, but ironically, I think that's what makes the best entrepreneurs and people are actually, and again, I'm going to throw out more stereotypes, but I also know people that grew up with 2 parents and went to Cambridge and got the first job and aced it and got the second job and never had a single setback. And then when actually things do come and happen, you can be a bit of a snowflake where they don't know how to just grit down and just fight through it in a way that you had to. And it's just, I genuinely think that if you've been through a tough time, it almost gives you a superpower that if you have that resilience to kind of keep going, I think
It's that
priceless.
element of self-sacrifice though as well, I think, and I'm still very much practicing it day to day. I mean, I'm becoming a little bit more of a princess, I'm not going to lie. Life's got a bit nicer. But I think that period of you've already sacrificed all through your life. So to make it really work, keep sacrificing and keep sacrificing. We didn't get paid more than £1,000 for 2 to 3 years as we set this up, and the business was getting really rich, and I couldn't even afford, I had to get tenants in, I had to get lodgers in just to pay the rent and all the rest of it. So that self-sacrifice and keep pushing forward, and you end up in, you just can't get rid of that. You can do anything if you've experienced that sacrifice and the continuing of the self-sacrificing. Then you're so resilient, you can deal with anything. I cry all the time though, but I can still do it. But yeah, it's so true. People who have all this backup and support can't handle if something really, really bad happens, or even if something little happens, it's too much. But some people have said to me, I'm quite not emotional. Is it emotionally detached? I'm not. I'm definitely not. However, I know what deserves my energy. And I know if I'm looking at someone who's got princess title, and sorry for anyone who might consider himself that, I am now developing that. But in the same vein, I can't react to everybody else's emotional energy enough for them to think that I'm not emotionally connected. I am. I'll go home and cry, but I'll wake up and move on, and that just is what it is. You've got to deal with it, haven't you?
No, that's awesome. Can I ask you about competition? Because I think would be quite interesting is that it's like one of my clients is a recruitment firm. Recruitment is massively competitive because so many people that can do it. For you and what you do, how do you almost treat competition when you... So I'll talk about me first.
Yeah.
I look at people that I, in theory, at business schools compete against. And that goes over from universities, business schools, to independent small groups. And I look at everyone and I try and take the best of what... Oh, that's quite clever. I like what they've done there. I'm going to steal that. But almost I like to have... I'm not going to call them frenemies, but people... I respect them, but I want to kill them in the nicest possible business way. How do you judge competition in the local area for kind of what you do?
Do you know what? There's a few different ways I look at this. I love cleaners and cleaning business owners, and I genuinely do, because I think most of us, unless we're out of some massive corporate business, most of us are from the ground up built business, and the level of energy I can feel it speaking to them. A lot of them are still going through it, and jumping from cleaner to business owners is the most difficult thing I think you can do. It's the most undervalued industry, the most underpaid. We still suffer the same stresses as any other industry. Clients don't pay, we've got less margins for growth, so we've got to be so careful. So on a day-to-day level, I love cleaning business owners, and I've got a lot of cleaning business owner friends as well. I'd name them out, but they might not want to be, but genuinely, so that's one aspect of it. But in the other aspect of it, I've got such good customer service skills that I like to put a blinker on other people's services. I'll listen to them, and I'll go through the recruitment division that we're setting up. We've gone through loads of recruiters in the last 7 years, and I've experienced how bad some of them are and how we've suffered as a business. And it's the same for cleaning. Really, it's the customer that matters. And I always think, well, we're supplying cleaning resource to other businesses who have cleaners. I know what their budgets are. I know what construction cleaning needs are, and I know what their setup is. Where I'm from, I know a lot of people. It's a bit of a small town. What tends to happen is I set something up, and then loads of other people copy. And as I speak, no one else has copied this, because it's really difficult to copy. One relationship might take 3 or 4 years to build before we even get on a live site. And with all the paperwork, the red tape, the health and safety, the due diligence that goes into that, and the fact that you're contracted in, it's extremely difficult to steal work off somebody else unless you're just not performing. If you're not performing, you kind of deserve to lose it. Well, given a bit of time to rectify. But I'm probably the same as you. I care, but I also don't care. But I genuinely care about the people.
Yeah.
And I also think if the market gets really flooded, I need to move on, because I can't be bothered for that level of competition where the prices are getting driven down so low that I can't make a decent profit.
Yeah.
And if it's not profitable, it's just a hobby. It's not worth it. So let them have it. It's their time to shine. I'm ready for a new challenge. That's my perspective on it.
Yeah, cool. I'm conscious of time and how busy you are and that kind of thing. Before we spoke, and actually it was how we first like connected, you actually put a post out and you were saying that you'd done I think 1 or 2 podcasts and you wanted to do more. Yeah. Why is that?
Do you know what? As I think it moves back to this transition between cleaners to business owner. In short answer is there isn't really any reason for it other than acknowledging that I am a business owner now, and I want to be in that business space and speak to other business owners. And I think I deserve. Yeah, there's a personal branding thing about it, definitely. I really, really enjoy being a business owner now. And it's the first time in 7 years that I felt really I've got a team. I am a business owner. We're moving forward. And I want to learn off other businesses and other business people and actually just talk about business. I don't have a space. I don't have loads of business friends and a space where I can just come and natter with someone like yourself who's experienced it and actually get that little bit of validation that my experiences matter, my business matters, the struggles we've had matters. But also I've started feeling really confident about what I have achieved and what we have achieved as a company as well. But also just sort of plug in there for the recruitment agency, why not?
Well, what I was going to say is that with the so I've done 85, 90 of these, and your story is probably one of the better ones. I did have a lady that rode across the Atlantic, not going to lie, that's quite impressive. But I think that any real true entrepreneur loves hustle and grind, and someone that's been through it. But what that gives, in the past I've worked for people that on paper you'd see them on the front of a magazine, but it was their dad's company and they didn't work for it in the same way you've worked for it. And my point is, I think people will recognize that. And part of the reason I love doing podcasts, I love talking to people. It's one of the things I love to do. But actually it's finding people that have kind of, I find it inspirational, that I spend most of my time working for myself or doing stuff for other people, that almost this is my one chance every week just to talk to people and ask questions that I think people get value in. And yes, you're completely right. It's a great kind of marketing tool, but likewise, the more you can kind of do long form stuff that, as we said before, the call, most people will just watch the 3-minute clip of this, which David, thank you when he edits it up. But some people who really like what you're doing, maybe Andrew, will watch the whole 40 minutes. And through doing so, they'll learn more about you and your story and everything, that actually they're going to love you even more. That it's good to have the short snippets to get your face out there, but also kind of what you're going through and stuff. So I think that's awesome.
So one of the most, sorry.
No, you go.
No, it's just, I think the person that really inspired me when I first hadn't done anything, I needed to just move, was Alan Sugar. And he very much ripped apart a TV and said, how am I going to rebuild this and sell it for 99 quid? And it inspired me so much. And actually look at him now. And that was the power of him writing autobiographies, getting his story out there.
The big purple book. Because it was purple, wasn't it? It was massive. No, honestly,
and that allowed me to just him. I mean, at a point where he wasn't that successful, maybe on my scale, he might have wanted to share his story then. And I'm not going to stop, and I hopefully will end up like Alan Sugar from various different businesses. But in that moving forward, success is defined by your own definition of success, isn't it? And I think I'm smashing it, and I think you are, and I think anyone who just survived COVID and the business is still open and thriving, we're all smashing it.
That's class. So I have a few questions that I ask at the end of every kind of interview. I know you know what they are, but that's cool.
I can't remember them.
That's fine. What's the best piece of advice you ever had?
The best piece of advice I ever had was not had that much, if I'm totally honest with you. I really wish I reread those questions. Honestly. Best piece of advice I ever had. Oh, it was last week. And this is because I'm commercial. Someone said to me that they've spent their life being best friends with people whilst maintaining arguing. So they're constantly arguing with them, but they're maintaining a level of best friendship. And I thought, you know what? I have let emotions get to me sometimes, and it has caused some issues that probably could have been avoided if I'd just took the feminine out of my commercial brain. But yeah, that when you get really thick into commercial business, you do need to learn to be everyone's friend, but equally be able to have an argument with them.
Yeah.
So far in this month, that's the advice I've got.
But I think what's interesting, and I learned this from a former boss, and he was a terrible people person, but I still learned a lot from him. And I remember once I said this story quite a lot, is that we were bidding for this massive oil and gas contract, and it turns out it was me and him in the room when we got the phone call, and we found out we didn't win it. And what always amazed me was that he didn't react, he didn't lose his temper, he just listened. Okay, what do we do next? And that composure, I was like, wow. And I think what's really funny is that as you kind of get a little bit older, it's being able to detach the personal relationship from the business relationship and know that it's okay to disagree. It just, that is separate. But I also don't work with anyone that I'm like, you know, I purposely don't have a social circle with work people, just in case, you know.
Trying to get rid of those things, but I've always run my life with my heart, and I'm very, very emotional. And everyone says don't run your business with emotion, but it's very difficult when you've got all that literally back break. I broke my back doing this, back breaking, blood, sweat, and tears, and then someone doesn't pay you, and you can't pay the wages, and you think, I just want to murder someone. But I'm learning, and I need to get better.
No, it's just embrace it. It is what it is.
Nobody needs to.
I think this will genuinely be really interesting. If you were to give advice to your younger self, and you can pick you at school, any stage, at uni, when you come put the heating on, when you went to Spain, when you come back, when you first started out. So if you were to give advice to your younger self, what would it be?
I think the age where I really, really needed advice, I was about 13. I would have literally said to myself, just keep smiling. You will be okay. It's going to be a really shit road for quite a long time, but you'll suss it out. That's what I would say. If there was another 13-year-old coming in having a crap time, I would say that, and I'd say you don't need to trust me and you don't need to listen, but just keep suffering and you'll get there. You'll figure it out.
Do you think that 13-year-old would be proud of who you are now?
Oh yeah. Honestly, it's ever made me cry.
No. But honestly, I've genuinely kind of really enjoyed it, and it was just with again, one of my things and my lead actions and stuff. It's stuff that I want to do this year to get the word out and stuff more. Was just speak to more people. So when I saw you reach out and just say, look, you know, I want to do more of them, I thought, yeah, why not? I'll take the punt.
I was really nervous, but thanks. I've enjoyed it.
Especially, how have you found it being live as opposed to pre-recorded?
Do you know what?
It's better, isn't it?
Just need to be a bit quick with it. There's a few pre-recorded ones, and there's a lot of chit chat. And you know it's going to get edited out, but now I'm like, just get to the point.
No,
say it
honestly,
quickly.
It's good. It's on to me to keep it flowing, but I think people will like that, and they like because that's actually what you're like. Do you know what I mean? And that's
I feel more authentic. I've not planned it. I only read your questions once. I thought, right, got it. Just go. Don't plan.
I'll be honest. I don't really plan either. I have a sheet of paper with the questions on, but I only glance if I get stuck. But
that's good.
And then is there anything you would like to talk about or plug before you go?
No, I wasn't expecting that one. Just really enjoying my coffee.
No, fair enough. Well, no, honestly, thank you for your time. Thank you to anyone that kind of tuned in and watched. These all get clipped up and go to YouTube. This was live on LinkedIn. It'll go into iTunes, Spotify, Google, lots of other kind of places as well. But no, cool. Thank you for your time. Honestly, Fran, thank you for your time. Really enjoyed it. Stay in touch, and hopefully I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.